It's a Saturday night and you're vibing out with your team in Verdansk, when all of a sudden a car rolls up on your squad, and out pop 4 demons, and they're all doing that one thing, that movement that makes your heart start racing, and lets you know that this isn't a team of bots, so you better hit your next shots or you're headed straight to the gulag. That one thing we're talking about today, it's slide canceling. So by now, you've probably watched a few YouTube videos to figure out how these sweats are killing you and dish it right back to them. You've learned that you turn your slide behavior to tap, press crouch, crouch, jump, and there you have it. You're a slide canceling expert. Or you've found that there's still something missing. There's actually another part to this equation. It's control. This game has an insanely low time to kill, so you can have the most advanced movement in the world. But if you don't carefully control when you slide cancel, how you slide cancel, and most importantly your aim while you slide cancel, it's only going to lead to a lot of situations on the map just like this. Now in Denzel Washington's defense, I don't think slide canceling would have got him out of that one. Okay, but back to slide cancel control. How do we learn it? Well, first, it's important to know why we slide cancel, and it's really just 2 reasons. To improve our movement speed on the map and to win more gunfights. Movement speed's a bit easier to understand, so let's jump into that first. So I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but slide canceling resets your tactical sprint. So if you time your slides perfectly, you can sprint indefinitely around the map. And this will decrease your time getting from point A to point B. But this is where a lot of players go wrong. They slide cancel too frequently and hardly use their tactical sprint. And not only that, but they mash their crouch button, so they have way too short of a slide, which can really slow you down. So to improve our movement speed, let's get into exercise 1. But before we get started, you want to make sure that your slide behavior is set to tap, and I highly recommend that you have auto tac sprint on as well. And for you controller players, you really need to be able to slide cancel without removing your right thumb from the analog stick. To do this, you should look into getting back buttons for your controller or learning how to play with a claw grip style. And that's enough on settings, let's get back to the exercise. I've loaded up Rust with no bots, and the goal of this first exercise is to work on exaggerating our slide cancel length and not sliding too much. And for this exercise, we're going to start by slide canceling along this wall. We're going to engage our tactical sprint, hit crouch at the beginning of the wall, and then hit crouch and jump at the end of the wall. And then we're going to turn around and do the same thing sliding back to where we started. And then we're going to repeat this a few times and internalize the length of this slide and then start to make rotations around the map. And as you're moving around the map, you want to space out your slides by counting to 1 1000. So 1 1000 slide, 1 1000 slide. And then as you get comfortable, you can start to adjust the length of the slide by adjusting when you press your second crouch button. Remember, we've been exaggerating this length just for practice. You really want to focus on having a smooth animation between your sliding and running. And then all it comes down to is practice and reps and running these circles and trying to not go insane. I know it's a bit repetitive, but focusing on not sliding too much and having a smooth slide cancel animation will really help your rotations around the map. And then as you get comfortable with this, you can start to add in jumps after each slide cancel. This will actually make you a tougher target to track on the map. You can use the same exercise from before, just add in a jump after each slide cancel. I plan to cover this more in future videos, so let's move on to the second reason why we slide cancel. So to the uninitiated, it might seem like some sort of magic how all these top streamers and players win all of their gunfights. And to others, they might even jump to more sinister conclusions. And there's a laundry list of reasons why they win their gunfights, but without exception, all of these top players slide cancel. And like, a lot. They know that slide canceling makes you a tough target to track and hit, especially up close, and they also know that slide canceling increases your peeker's advantage. Let's look at this previous clip I showed. As I slide around the corner, it almost looks like this player isn't even playing. I actually get the first few shots off before the player even moves, and that's with thinking that he was up on the platform behind him and then adjusting my aim. And the reason that I win that gunfight is very simple. I saw the player first. As we play the game, we are constantly sending and receiving packets of data or ones and zeros to and from the game server. And then based on our own ping, our opponent's ping, and how quickly the servers refresh and update this information among the players on the map, you can get slight differences between what you see on your screen and what your opponent sees. And slide canceling can increase this difference. So knowing all of this, it means that you can aggressively engage your opponent by slide canceling around a corner or a head glitch, and you will get a few frames of advantage where you can shoot your opponent before he or she even sees you on their screen. And this is what is known as peeker's advantage or cammering your opponent. And like we discussed earlier, this advantage can quickly become a disadvantage if you aren't able to control your aim and hit your shots when sliding around the corner. So let's get into that. Okay, I've loaded up Rust again with no bots, and now we're going to work on dialing in our slide mechanics while controlling our aim. I'm going to go through a series of exercises starting at the beginner level and working our way up. And just as a quick note, you don't necessarily have to do these exercises in a custom game. Plunder works just fine. For level 1, the goal is to perfect the button mechanics. We're going to take the formula for slide canceling that we learned before, and we're simply going to add in ADSing after the second crouch button. There are other ways to do this, but this method will ADS the fastest, which is exactly what we're after. For the exercise, we're going to pick 2 static targets about the size of a window, and we're going to slide cancel and ADS into the center of each target. And for this first level, it's very important to keep the target within your field of view when starting your tactical sprint and going into your slide cancel. You don't want to make the target too tough to hit at first because we're just working on the button mechanics. And you want to be just as comfortable sliding to the left as you are to the right, so make sure to practice both sides. I wouldn't recommend moving on to the next level until you're comfortable sliding to both sides and center into the target the majority of the time. For level 2, we're going to focus completely on our aim. We're going to mimic an in-game scenario where you're sliding around a corner and have to lock directly onto a target. For this exercise, we're going to keep the 2 targets from before, and the only difference from level 1 is we're going to place a visual barrier between us and the target. You're going to slide past the corner, and during your slide, you're going to start to turn your aim and ADS into one of the targets. Don't worry about speed here, the goal is accuracy. And then once you're comfortable, you'll want to start putting some shots into each target. You'll want to practice this exercise to the left and the right, just like before. Level 3 is all about controlling our stopping distance. Oftentimes in gunfights, we need to limit our opponent's line of sight to isolate gunfights with just one player. With Warzone's low time to kill, you're almost guaranteed to die if you're being shot by more than one player. For this level, we're going to keep the same targets from before, but we'll move a bit further back, which will make the targets tougher to hit, and most importantly, you want to stop your slide so that you can just see one target. This level is a bit tricky, so get comfortable with your slide first before you start shooting the targets. Once again, make sure you practice to the left and to the right. So we've worked on our slide mechanics, our aim control, and stopping distance, and now it's finally time to introduce speed. Level 4 is all about quickness. If you're training on Rust, you'll spray paint 4 targets, and if you're training in Plunder, here's a similar location with 2 targets. And for this exercise, you'll slide to engage the first target, put a few bullets into it, and then immediately go into a slide cancel to engage the second target. You'll then quickly reset and go back the other way. You'll want to start out slow at first and work to build up your speed. Your centering while you slide and before you ADS is critical here. If you find that your aim is completely off, just start with the first target and slowly build up to the next targets. It's a good idea to use the SMG with a quick ADS for slide cancel training and especially this exercise. Okay, you've made it. This is the final exercise I have for you today, and in this level we're finally going to introduce some opponents. I prefer to do this exercise at Hackney Yard in the office area with the max number of bots at the lowest level and max health, but you can also do this in Plunder in the storage area. And for the exercise, you simply want to engage as many opponents as possible while sliding around a corner. This exercise is great for working on your slide cancel timings. If you can catch your opponent still aiming at the corner or in a tactical sprint, you will have a major advantage in the gunfight. And the way to do this is simply through many reps and making the connection between footstep audio and your opponent's position. And if you're playing with bots, it can be helpful to turn your radar on while practicing. And don't be afraid to pre-fire. Pre-firing is a great tool to get the maximum benefit from your peeker's advantage. Pre-firing can be very useful when you know where your opponent is around the corner or if you have a pretty good idea. And remember, once you slid out to engage your opponent, don't stop moving and become an easy target. You'll want to practice strafing to the left and the right, adding in a jump, slide canceling and then jumping right back into cover. You can practice slide canceling and doing a drop shot. The movement combinations are endless and you'll want to practice as many as you can. And slide canceling isn't only an offensive move. You can use slide canceling to throw off your opponent's aim and be a tough target to hit. It can be very useful when you're behind cover and trying to get information on your opponents or when you're plating up. But don't worry, I plan to cover some of these more advanced movements and combinations in future videos. And those are all the exercises I have for you today. I hope this video will give you the tools you need to move faster on the map and win more gunfights. If you enjoyed the content, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.